I have to ask you on the programming front, AI is getting really good at programming. Gemini, both the agentic and just the LLM, has been incredible. So a lot of programmers are really worried that they will lose their jobs. How worried should they be? And how should they adjust so they can be thriving in this new world where more and more code is written by AI?
I think a few things. Looking at Google, we've given various stats around 30% of code now uses like AI generated suggestions or whatever it is. But the most important metric, and we carefully measure it, is like how much has our engineering velocity increased as a company due to AI, right? And it's like tough to measure, and we kind of rigorously try to measure it. And our estimates are at that number is now at 10%, right? Like now across the company, we've accomplished a 10% engineering velocity increase using AI. But we plan to hire more engineers next year, right? So because the opportunity space of what we can do is expanding too, right?
Mhm.
And so I think hopefully, for at least in the near to midterm, for many engineers, it frees up more and more of the, even in engineering and coding, there are aspects which are so much fun. You're designing, you're architecting, you're solving a problem. There's a lot of grunt work, which all goes hand in hand. But it hopefully takes a lot of that away, makes it even more fun to code, frees you up more time to create, problem solve, brainstorm with your fellow colleagues, and so on, right? So that's the opportunity there. And second, I think it'll put the creative power in more people's hands, which means people will create more. That means there'll be more engineers doing more things. So it's tough to fully predict, but I think in general in this moment, it feels like people adopt these tools and be better programmers. Like there are more people playing chess now than ever before, right? So it feels positive that way to me, at least speaking from within a Google context, is how I would talk to them about it.
I just know anecdotally a lot of great programmers are generating a lot of code.
Yeah.
So their productivity, they're not always using all the code, just, there's still a lot of editing. But like, even for me, it's still programming as a side thing. I think I'm like 5x more productive. I think that's even for a large code base that's touching a lot of users like Google's does. I'm imagining like very soon that productivity should be going up even more.
The big unlock will be as we make the agentic capabilities much more robust, right? I think that's what unlocks that next big wave. I think the 10% is like a massive number. Like, if tomorrow, like I showed up and said, like,
Yeah.
you can improve like a large organization's productivity by 10% when you have tens of thousands of engineers, that's a phenomenal number. And that's different than what others cite as statistics saying like this percentage of code is now written by AI. I'm talking more about like overall
Actual productivity.
actual productivity, right? Engineering productivity, which is two different things, and which is the more important metric. But I think it'll get better, right? And I think there's no engineer who tomorrow, if you magically became 2x more productive, you're just going to create more things. You're going to create more value-added things, and so I think you'll find more satisfaction in your job, right? So,
and there's a lot of aspects. I mean, the actual Google Codebase might just improve because it'll become more standardized, more easier for people to move about the code base because AI will help with that. And therefore, that will also allow the AI to understand the entire code base better, which makes the engineering aspect. That's what I've been using Cursor a lot as a way to program with Gemini and other models. Is like one of its powerful things is it's aware of the entire code base. And that allows you to ask questions of it. It allows the agents to move about that code base in a really powerful way. I mean, that's a huge unlock.
think about migrations, refactoring old code bases.
Refactoring, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about like, once we can do all this in a much better, more robust way than where we are today.
I think in the end, everything will be written in JavaScript and run in Chrome. I think it's all going to that direction. I mean, just for fun, Google has legendary coding interviews, uh, like rigorous interviews for the engineers. How can you comment on how that has changed in the era of AI? It's just such a weird, the whiteboard interview. I assume is not allowed to have some prompts.
Such a good question. Look, I do think, we're making sure, we'll introduce at least one round of in-person interviews for people
Yeah.
just to make sure the fundamentals are there. I think they'll end up being important. But it's an equally important skill. Look, if you can use these tools to generate better code, I think that's an asset. And so, I think so. Overall, I think it's a massive positive.